The Crown Prince of Dubai, Sheikh Hamdan Bin Mohammed Al Maktoum, begins his first official visit to India today. Over two days, the UAE Deputy PM and Defence Minister will meet PM Modi, who will host a working lunch in his honour. He's also scheduled to hold talks with External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. Meanwhile, in Mumbai, the Crown Prince will lead a business roundtable with Indian and Emirati leaders. Now, the visit comes to strengthen the India-UAE comprehensive strategic partnership, deepen trade ties, and further connect the 4.3 million strong Indian diaspora in the UAE. In fact, it's important to underline here that the UAE also hosts India's largest overseas community, which is around 4.3 million strong. My colleague Shabana Sheikh joins us for the latest from Mumbai. Shabana, what's the latest you're picking up? And please walk our viewers through the itinerary of the UAE's Deputy PM.
So this is a very important meeting from expanding trade, energy collaboration and enhancing digital partnerships and cultural exchanges. The agenda is packed with opportunity. Now, leaders of both countries will actually explore new pathways for investment, especially under the framework of, like you rightly said, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. Now, the Crown Prince is actually expected to meet policy leaders and policy makers and business leaders, and the four key agendas would be expansion of bilateral trade volume, which has already surpassed $85 billion in FY24. The second would be UAE's investment in Indian infrastructure projects, and particularly in renewable energy, ports, logistics and smart cities. The third would be startup ecosystems, where these partnerships between Indian innovators and Dubai-based investors will be discussed. And the fourth would be technology and innovation collaboration. So this is largely what is expected out of these meetings in Mumbai.
Thank you so much for that, Subara. Moving on, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has arrived in London to begin a 6-day official tour of Europe. The highlight of the visit is the 13th India-UK Economic and Financial Dialogue with Chancellor Rachel Reeves, focusing on trade, UPI, interlinkage, investment and even financial regulation. Now, bilateral talks in the India-UK Free Trade Agreement are expected on the sidelines. She will then travel to Austria for meetings with top Austrian officials and business leaders. Meanwhile, President Draupadi Murmu has arrived in Lisbon for a 4-day state visit to Portugal and Slovakia, the first such visit, in fact, by an Indian president to Portugal in 27 years. She was received with full honours, in fact, by President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa at the historic Praça do Império. During a meeting with the Portuguese president, President Murmu led delegation-level talks focused on expanding cooperation in trade, technology, education and renewable energy. Now, the visit comes to deepen historic ties between the two nations. Next, President Murmu will travel to Slovakia, marking the first visit, in fact, by an Indian head of state in the country in nearly 3 decades as well. South Korea will hold a snap presidential election on the 3rd of June after the dramatic ouster of former President Yoon Suk-yeol. Now, Yoon was removed by the Constitutional Court for declaring martial law and deploying troops in December, an act deemed unconstitutional. The country has since been led by Prime Minister Han Sak-soo in an acting role. Meanwhile, Liberal opposition leader Lee Jae-myung, who narrowly lost in 2022, is the current frontrunner despite facing ongoing legal battles. On the other hand, Conservatives are yet to rally behind a single candidate, and the vote comes amid economic concerns and a tense relationship with the Trump 2.0 administration in Washington, D.C. A fresh wave of tension is rocking global markets after US President Donald Trump threatened to slap a 50% tariff, in fact, on Chinese goods. Now, this comes in response to Beijing's new 34% counter tariff, which followed Trump's earlier 34% duty on imports from China. Now, if enforced, the new US tariffs would mean companies pay a staggering 104% in total taxes on Chinese products. Speaking at the White House, Trump said there would be no pause in these actions and stressed it's now America first. China, in a strong rebuttal, accused Washington of economic bullying and unilateralism. Staying with Trump, the US president defended the larger-than-expected tariffs on all imports to reporters in the Oval Office at the top of a bilateral meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who made his second trip, in fact, to the White House since Trump was inaugurated this January. Listen in.
We will eliminate the trade deficit with the United States. We intend to do it very quickly. We think it's the right thing to do. And we're going to also eliminate trade barriers, a variety of trade barriers that have been put up unnecessarily. And I think Israel can serve as a model for many countries who ought to do the same. I recognize the position of the United States. It says, we're allowing other countries to put tariffs on us, but we don't put tariffs on them. And, I'm a free trade champion, and free trade has to be fair trade.
And President Donald Trump has revealed that the US and Iran are now, in fact, in direct contact over a possible nuclear deal. Speaking alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu again, Trump said that the talks will happen Saturday and has warned that failure to reach an agreement would mean a very bad day for Iran. Now, this marks a significant shift as the two nations haven't had formal diplomatic ties since 1980. It's almost 45 years there. But Iran almost immediately contradicted the president, insisting the talks due to take place in Oman on Saturday would be conducted through an intermediary, in fact. Tensions remain high as Iran's enriched uranium stockpile continues to grow, sparking concerns globally. Now, Netanyahu, meanwhile, has said that both US and Israel agree Iran must never acquire nuclear weapons, and that diplomacy, if done right, would be, in fact, a welcome solution. Listen in.
We're having direct talks with Iran, and they've started. It'll go on Saturday. We have a very big meeting, and we'll see what can happen. And I think everybody agrees that doing a deal would be preferable to doing the obvious. And the obvious is not something that I want to be involved with, or frankly, that Israel wants to be involved with if they can avoid it. So we're going to see if we can avoid it. But it's getting to be very dangerous territory. And hopefully those talks will be successful. And I think it would be in Iran's best interest if they are successful.